So I don't even know where to start because Alpen Fury is definitely one thing that we should probably talk about. It's fresh in the mind, so I'll probably do that first. And yeah, so I vlogged from there yesterday, and it was quite a great experience. I met a lot of people. It's the first time I've actually even found uh, Amusement Insiders AI. Um, their crew and everything like that, but it was really unavoidable if you were going to cover that monumentous occasion with Alpen being officially topped out. Um, and lots of questions already in the chat, so it's going to be a busy one, but and I will get to those. But as far as that experience was concerned, it was really cool and unique to be there because I didn't really plan for that. I didn't even really follow the coverage of, I watched that channel. I don't follow the timeline too much to know what speculation was saying as far as when the construction would be done. In fact, I didn't even know that the construction was going to be done that day until the midpoint of the day when I finally got around to that part of the park. Because of my prior visit, I went in a different way. I could probably say something about a collaboration with AI, but I don't know if I should say anything because there's nothing planned. Let's just say that. But we've been in communication in the past, obviously, and yeah, nothing's going to happen at least in the near future. But you never know. I still really officially haven't had like an introduction to Brendan because there was a lot of people around, so it was kind of weird. He was like stressed out and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't the right occasion for that. But I definitely met some other people, including Kenny and Steve. If you're watching, a shout out. Probably more so Steve for sure. Met another fan from London, Ontario. Yeah, and again, I apologize to the poor fan that decided to unsubscribe at the posting of that video. YouTube's a weird one, and I just sometimes you never know what people want, and I guess they just didn't want any Wonderland content, but I was there to capture it, so I had to do so. It was very exciting. I wish there's a couple things like behind the scenes with the construction that I didn't really include in the video, but I don't want to take anything away from the work that was involved. It's more so the first visit that I was there for. It was quite unique. Some funny sounds coming from the crew. Let's just say that much. I'm not trying to play off on anything, but I am honest with my observances, and it was kind of funny. But construction crews have not really changed over the, let's say, centuries. Let's say, but amazing to see it actually get put into place. Now, I was there when they finished the construction because there was some alignment issues. And I feel bad for the park because they clearly had it timed that right at the end of the park day, if not earlier, if the crane hadn't gone down, that they had to bring a second crane in, and they called one in immediately. There was some great insight put on that was mentioned to me about the fact that the park didn't want that pathway leading into Grand World Expo closed for 2 consecutive days, so they had to get that work done immediately. And that they did. But there was a big crowd that was assembled for that moment. And yeah, unfortunately, they weren't able to see an official sign off and alignment of the track piece in place. So that celebration definitely happened without an audience, unfortunately. Security was very accommodating and let us stay in the park until 1 hour after close, which I think is generally the rule. But it was unfortunate that they weren't able to have like a mini sort of ceremony there when the track was finally put into place. So I don't really have an idea of the perspective of that as far as like the sight line and everything, because once the crane is out and everything, it'll kind of give a better visual of how it looks coming into Grand World Expo. But I'm definitely leaning better. I have a video that some people don't like about criticisms of Alpen Fury, and many of them are still the same. And they're often insights or perspectives that are well worn by this point, and probably more appropriate to when the ride was announced, including like capacity issues and stuff like that. But and one comment that I definitely thought was insightful was it being sort of like a fast lane machine, which, there might be some thought to that, because at the end of the day, fast passes are definitely going to be the bread and butter of that ride for the first couple of years of its life as everybody wants to get onto it. So opening late into the season, so we hope there's not going to be any opportunities, say in May and June at the slower parts of the year for the park to ride that ride. So, it's going to be probably opening in the summer, and that's when the park is going to be at its peak business. So, yeah, I have a fast lane, I think, for it, so it won't be so bad for myself. But for those people that have large families and all that kind of stuff, and I even know one commenter that was saying that they had fast lane for their entire family, and they're really disappointed about the fact that the ride's not open because it is a substantial investment. That's a huge investment. That's almost like half a small car, brand new, just for that undertaking, and to not have the ride open, I would also be very disappointed. So I have to speak both sides. I I've had some good times at the park this year, so I definitely want to speak to the fact that I've had that. And I have no acrimony to the park and never will. Um, Speaking on media events and stuff like that, we're still trying to get in to see whether or not we'll get an opportunity to be there for Alpens. When it comes to media events, at the same time, they're a little bit oversaturated. You have a bunch of channels that show up and kind of produce the same sort of content, essentially because they want to be at the point when it's at its peak virality. I tend to try to spend some time making things a bit more cinematic and sort of structured, so that way over time you might want to go back and watch it again. So we'll see about that. The situation is what it is. I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to go. But remind me about the Centerville situation, because there's some interesting stuff there going on. But not sure why that suddenly popped in my head, but it's exciting nonetheless. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I get around to going to a media event. Maybe we'll see. I have a new sort of group that I'm associated with that are American based, but are planning to come down if they get the invite to cover the event. And hopefully I will be able to take part in that. Everything is well. I'm looking at the chat on the side because the bigger questions I'm already interested in the retracted question or comment. But hopefully things will work out, and we'll be able, regardless, we'll be there to cover it when it does open, and potentially some testing as well, because I do have at least one more trip planned in June. It was kind of a frenetic day because I was trying to focus on getting all the flat rides in, as many as I could, if not all of them. If I really wanted to do it, I could have done it, but they had some weird closures yesterday. Like Skyhawk closed and Windseeker closed in the middle of the day for wind issues, and there was like zero wind happening, so I don't know really what was going on with that. And then Spinnovator was closed as well, so I couldn't really cover everything as far as the flats are concerned. But that's a compilation video that's coming later into the season. Going to rank the flats as I did last year. Going to rank the coasters as I did last year. But I'm going to have to wait for Alpen to open before we officially do that. Got to get those kids' credits in as well. Got to get on Taxi Jam for lack of any reason other than for that review. And also Snoopy's Racing Railway. So I've pretty much done everything in the park, however, but there's a couple rides that I still have yet to experience this year. So I will be going to focus on that, and also the water rides. I didn't actually manage to get on either one. But I will definitely be, it's all about the timing for that, because, I don't come with like a change of clothes. So as far as being prepared to get wet and then to dry through the day, if it's a really hot, sunny day, I'll do it early and then dry out during the rest of the day. So, but I definitely like I love the flat water rides. So that will definitely happen regardless. So yeah, it was very cool to be there. Quite an event, even if it wasn't perfect. But it's very rare that you get to say that you were there during a day when the track was completed for a ride. And that was the first time that I've ever witnessed that at my home park. So blessed to have been able to experience that without question. I got to see I'm going to briefly go to these questions because I'm sure there's going to be a lot, because I'm going to have some interesting things to say about some other experiences from the past week here. Obviously, we've had the big Six Flags announcement. Nobody knows what parks have lost their presidents yet, but it'd be interesting to see. I'm really hoping that Darien Lake haven't been affected too much, because I have a media-ish event and an exclusive like tour planned for that park in a little over 3 weeks' time. And I definitely hope that I'll be able to experience that, because for what we're going to be offered, it's really kind of unique and something I've never been able to do before. So definitely looking forward to that. And Darien Lake is a great park. You've talked to enthusiasts, that maybe haven't been there. The funny thing is that yesterday I had a conversation with one enthusiast that's like, I haven't been to Darien Lake in ages, but that park's under threat. I don't think it's going to last. And I'm like, have you been there lately? Like, it's actually a great park. It's run by a really enthusiastic staff. It's refreshing in relation to what Six Flags is like. Yes, there was an incident recently at the front gate, but that's not the staff's fault. Maybe security was a little bit harsh. Maybe, you don't solve an issue in this day and age with everybody having a cell phone and the ability to record events, with tear gas or like rubber bullets or whatever it was that they were firing at these kids. But it was a bit wild, but I kind of can get it too at the same time, having seen some incidents in the past there, not at that park in particular, but you just have to say it, like in parks that are close to urban areas. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that parenting is the responsibility of these incidents. Really, there's just no accountability. Kids get to run wild and really don't have that sense of authority that, say, they had when I was a kid. I went to parks when I was a kid all the time, mainly Wonderland, and I never acted or even thought to act in the way that some of the situations that we're seeing happen right now that are occurring. I would never have been involved in stuff like that. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. I wish there were other places where they could, conduct themselves in that way if it were necessary. But this is where the world we're in right now, and it's really going to be not good for many parks to have those kind of optics for any, authority respecting family or law abiding families to like go to think that they're going to be exposed to some dangerous elements if they go to these parks. And Darien Lake was a shocker because I didn't really suspect that at that park, but unfortunately it's happened. But I was there at the Kennywood incident the day after, when there was an unfortunate tragedy there. So it's not something that's going to leave us, but hopefully we can find a better solution in the future in regards to that. Okay, well, I said I was going to do some questions. I really love how everybody loves how Alpen Fury looks now that it's finished. I still think that the supports should have been a different shade, like a different color. But I'm not minding it. It definitely, like, the angles that you get from being inside the park are pretty incredible. And once it starts testing and actually functioning or operating, it's going to be quite a sight to see. You could probably spend hours just covering the train going through that course from so many different angles in the park. It's just like, it's really, there's just a bountiful amount of, rewarding perspectives that ride is going to give. It really is built to impress visually, and I'm sure it's going to live up to that. And funnily enough, or oddly enough, in the back section towards Vortex and Guardian, I think that's probably the most messy for that. It's probably the least impressive. It does look a little bit tangled, and there's a lot going on there. And there's going to be a lot of people that's trying to capture that perfect moment when all three trains cross at the same time. You probably spend your entire day just doing that. But yeah, it's going to be a lot to see. And yes, Richard, hello. I met you 2 weeks ago at the park. And yeah, no one knows for sure which presidents they're keeping mum on that situation as far as who actually got fired. But at the same time, if we believe what we're told, all the park presidents are gone. So very unfortunate to hear. Many of them, or some of them, may have moved over to regional manager positions. I'm not so sure this is a bad move. If they have to save money in some way at Six Flags, then this might be a smart idea. restructuring is what it is. Having worked for a media company in the past and them restructuring rather aggressively, I understand how these things work. Even being the victim of such a thing back in the day. Yeah, it's just what happens, but it does. I don't want to get back to what I was saying in the last live, but like this whole corporate restructuring, it really does, beg for the time when these parks were run by families and independent business people instead of by a corporation that really is just listening to its shareholders' desires for better dividends and better return ROI, return on investment, and stuff like that. So I think it's going to lead into a subject that I have about one park in particular, but try to capture getting on these questions here. Did you hear Doug Ford? Yes, he should have been a comedian. I didn't watch the LRT press conference. I just saw it in the background, actually, while I was on my lunch break for yesterday's video. But I've basically been up to the Eglinton LRT, and this is not necessarily a subject for this channel, but at the same time, maybe it is, because I definitely tried to get the Scarborough. The day that the Scarborough LRT broke down was the day that I was planning on doing a video on it. So it's somewhat ironic that that happened, and I'm really kind of annoyed that that did, because I used to ride it to work every day when I worked out in by the Scarborough Town Center. It's a media company that happens to be right across the street from that. So if you know your stuff, you know where that is. So yeah, it's I've seen it testing the Eglinton line. So hopefully it will finally get up and running because it seems like it's ready to go, but it's an embarrassment. Having been, I know I talk about China all the time sometimes, but having been through their transit system in Shanghai and the fact that they built that entire subway system in 10 years or less than 10 years, and then we have this thing that's getting on to 17 years, I think. It's 14 or 17 years that it's been constructed. It's an embarrassment, really, for Canadian construction projects. Toronto is supposed to be the jewel, one of the world's most leading cities, and it's certainly expanding at that rate. And if we can't get our transit to meet up to those expectations, we're constantly going to be behind the curve as far as what we can provide the citizens of this city. So, yeah, let's get it open because it's kind of an embarrassment nonetheless. Yeah, so MBA and AI collab not happening. We have different types of channels. There was a proposal in the past, but unfortunately, I couldn't do it because I definitely wanted my content to be what it is and staying focused on what we do. Camera's overheating. I was going to try to hook up a fan earlier, and of course I didn't because I thought, it'll be fine. So if the video goes out, I apologize. I'm going to just say this in advance because it might do so. Hopefully it'll hold on. Alpen Fury is a beast of a coaster. It definitely is. They will definitely probably start testing, I'd say maybe in 2 weeks. I'm going to guess in 2 to 3 weeks time. If it starts testing, then we're definitely on the road to this thing getting open. Hopefully early July. It's no secret that the track or the trains are now, or like one of the trains has now been placed on track. It's in the for now I can't remember the actual name for it, but the holding area. Yeah, that's exciting news. So no doubt the second train will be on in short time. So Centerville, just to quickly touch on that, I've been in communication with the park, and they've been very, very enthusiastic in getting back to me about it. And it's going to be some exciting content in regards to that. I think I'm going to have 2 videos. I am doing a history of the park, which is going to be pretty comprehensive, and with the history of Hanlan's Point, the original amusement park that was on that island, to what's going on there today. It looks like I didn't get official confirmation because I only asked this today, but it is on the site that the Octagon Scrambler is now running again. You can probably confirm that, B-Man, because that's definitely a ride that I was looking forward to riding again, because it was one of the highlights there, and I love those indoor scrambler rides, especially when they have effects. I don't think they probably have any crazy effects on there. It was only black lights back in the day, but it was definitely a cool ride. Fingers crossed, just Reading more of these comments here. Yes, it is. All right, confirmation. That's beautiful because it hasn't been running for quite some time, and it looked like it wasn't going to be the last time I was there. I can't wait for when it starts to test. Do you like Mindbuster? Yes, I love Mindbuster. I loved Mindbuster when it was still rough. Don't want to always bring it up, but I've had some bad experiences on Mindbuster in the tunnel, and I have to say it for what it is. But there's nothing more frustrating than when you have delinquents on a ride that think it's funny to pull pranks on other people while you're going through that tunnel. That's all I'll say. So sit in the front seat if you're on a train where you see some over rambunctious kids. I'll say that much because it's not been one or two times that that's happened. I think I know the media company you worked at. We sold our family media company to them. Interesting. Yes, it's like we have a little trivia going on here. Well, and then that company would have been sold to another company because now it's part of one of the largest. Well, if you look at the structure, and I was thinking about this today, now with YouTube, thank you, YouTube, for letting us do what we do. Now being the number one media company in the world, it's kind of ironic that I worked for the second largest media company in the world. And yes, you are correct. With that, Astral. I didn't work for Astral. I have a relative that worked for Astral though. But I used to work. I guess I'll give another clue. But I worked for Disney technically in the past, at least one of its subsidiaries. I actually directly got paid a third of my paycheck. If you worked out the corporate structure, was paid to me from Disney. Now, there's lots of people that work for Disney in other areas, but to work for Disney in the media aspect was interesting. I almost worked with Netflix, oddly enough, in between that. But now we're here at YouTube and very happy for it because we create our own content and we have complete control over it. And you guys benefit from that for sure. And that's very cool, actually, Richard, that you're associated with the Astral family. That's actually really, really cool. It's a small country, Canada, and I did try to get a job with Astral back in the day, but I wasn't quite ready. It was for a producer position. I kind of got, grandfathered in, or, I got. I sold out. I know I sold out to Disney, but I didn't know at the time that they were owned by Disney. So it wasn't Disney technically that I was working for and creating content for them. But, Disney's done some cool things, in my childhood. I will say that much. I wouldn't say so much now. It's got to be careful what you say about the second largest media company in the world now. But because they don't like criticism that much, do they? But back to a couple of these questions. Yeah, I worked through that. We covered that. Makes me wonder how overdue the Scarborough extension. Yeah, not in my lifetime. I'll say that much, or maybe even not in my lifetime in this city will I be seeing a lot of the stuff that they're planning now. We're at the point where I'm thinking a lot of these things that they're planning to do, maybe the Ontario line, I will at least see because it's being built right down the street from me, as a matter of fact. I've definitely got a lot of footage of the early days of that's construction, at least the above ground portions, and even in the technically not underground, but I did a video on the Lee Side Bridge, some of the just crazy content that I've created that I've yet to put up. But yeah, some of the construction around that I covered it briefly in that one, so that will be coming out soon, and I have to get it out soon because there's even more that's going on with that. So by the time I post it, it'll look very dated. I didn't finish with the Mindbuster stuff. So yeah, very excited about it. It looks like it's ready to go, except for that it doesn't have any running rails on the new sections of track. I'm sure it won't take them that long to do. There were days when wooden roller coasters were put up in a matter of weeks, so I can't see it taking that much longer. Now with Alpen finally done, I think they can focus their concentration on that. And it'll be very unique to see if they try to open both at the same time, so that way they can kind of get them both done on media day. But we'll see. We'll have to watch out for that. Still really kind of excited for Mindbuster, equally as much as Alpen Fury, I'll say officially for sure. Um, Makes me wonder how do I? Yeah, so it was running when I was there in 22, 23. Um, yeah, not sure. Now we've gone off track because I keep talking about certain things. I'm like, oh, okay, 22, 23. So that was probably the scrambler for sure. Yeah, because it's been 4 years since I've been to Centerville. So long overdue. Not cheap. I will say that much. So I'm going to have to make sure that I get my money's worth. Because, yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, especially the fact that it has a lack of adult rides there. It's not cheap at all. I will say that much. So, all right, moving on. Will RMC ever come to Wild Beast? I don't think we're ever. RMC is not really doing much at all when it comes to um, rebuilding. Like, I think we're kind of past the golden age of RMC now. There's just no projects in the pipeline that we know about. Yeah, $55 Centerville is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Wild Beast is ever going to be. I think that we're probably going to see how things work out with Mindbuster, and if they are successful, that we'll probably see Mindbuster get the same treatment Wild Beast get the same treatment as Mindbuster has been getting. Especially, and I said this last live, is that with Grizzly getting that treatment at King's Dominion, I can't see them not looking to do that again, especially because now they already have structurally, like, they would have plans already that they could basically just use from that project and move it forward to Wildebeest. And I said Wildebeest, I always say it that way. So yeah, like, just from a cost standpoint, I think it might make more sense to do that. And they already have a relationship with the company, so with Gravity Group on that end. So I honestly think that we're not going to see an RMC. And Peter Swertzer already said that they weren't looking to do anything with Wildebeest in that light or any of the wood coasters. We definitely know that that's not happening to Mindbuster now. 3 years ago, you would have had that rumor flying around that Mindbuster was going to get that RMC treatment too. I think it would have been more interesting if that had happened, because there's more. I think there's more interesting elements they could have put in there, with the way that Mindbuster is already sort of made out. So kind of like a Untamed type of thing with how you have it at Wallaby Holland. But it's too late for that now. Don't think it's going to happen. Definitely think it would be a ground up RMC, which seems to be falling off the line as far as popularity is concerned. Not really sure why that is. Sadra's amazing, as I've said already a couple times in these lives. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's coming. And I just don't think that the parks are looking to that type of monster of a thrill coaster, at least in the short or midterm plans, as far as what the philosophy is with Six Flags now. So on that note, I got to talk about Great Adventure and the fact that Great Adventure is on life support. Now, I have this map up behind me of finer days. This thing is over 30 years old. It also indicates a better time in the past when parks were very enthusiastic about what they had and their operations and what they were giving to the communities and to their fans. So I only had to write to the park back in the day, and I got this map sent to me in the mail. I've got another one here from Great America, and this park I think is still doing fantastically well. This park, and my recent experience there, was just the most underwhelming thing ever. Especially, there's a couple things I even had to, write in a customer response. I don't know if they really care, but at the same time, being spoken to like you're going into boot camp or even prison, I'm sure that you would be treated better as a new inmate in prison than how some of the staff at Great Adventures spoke to their guests. I'm just going to say it for what it is. Just zero warmth, like just basically being treated as if you're like, not an obligation, but a liability. Yeah, it was just not great at all. Now, I think I have to, talk about this in a different video, but I didn't meet a fan while I was there. I met someone who was just friendly enough and kind of on his own, at least riding the rides on his own. But really kind of, unfortunately, when you do meet people, you can't spend entirely, or when you're creating content, you can't spend your whole day with them. And they have different ideas of what they want to do with the day. And coming from where I was coming from, and it's not cheap to go out to these places. So you want to be nice, and I'm very cordial and to a fault, I'd say, because I think I wasn't really upfront enough about the fact that I was like, I need to get some rides in. I'm sad. It's unfortunate that you don't want to ride this. Like, we went on El Toro together, but at the beginning, if you can tell me what a commission book is, there's like this weird black wallet thing that he had, and I've looked it up, but I just still don't know what it was because he was a little bit of a strange cat. But he's like, this thing never leaves me. So he was arguing with security about it. And, I'm suddenly caught in the loop in this thing. I'm like, I didn't even know this guy 20 minutes ago. Now, suddenly I'm involved in this argument over the fact that he can take this book on ride to El Toro. I'm like, if it was me, I'd just be like, hey, man, just put the book in the locker. It's nice that they offer temporary lockers on El Toro now. That's definitely a bonus. And I give the park kudos for that. But then it became like this whole back and forth with security. Yeah, it was just very disappointing that, I got involved in this situation that wasn't really anything to do with me. But it happened, and it is what it is. And, I had to fight for my rides on El Toro, which I eventually did get. That ride is, I pulled a John Cena. I don't know what that reference means, but it probably shows you how limited I've seen of John Cena's material, other than the China thing. Needless to say, El Toro was running amazing, and I had to do it 4 times in a row, regardless of the fact that this person I was with can only do it once, and the restraints, he couldn't get into it. So there was a whole thing about that. He did eventually get on one ride with me, and then he's like, oh my God, never again, never again. Because I warned him in advance. It's like, it's running crazy. It's like really intense today. And it was like, honestly, amazing. I loved it. That second half, though, oh my God. I definitely couldn't marathon that ride. It is really rough. It's just relentless. Like, I definitely love rides like that. And it went up my rankings because of that, because those first 2 airtime hills are just unbelievable. But yeah, you definitely can't sit on a wheel seat on that one, because you'll regret it the rest of the day. But long story short, the rest of the park, it's not being maintained well. It looks its age. There's just no thematic consistency throughout it. King Dakaw's gone. Green Lantern's gone. There's only 3 major coasters worth like actually riding, even though I went on Medusa and I enjoy that. Jersey Devil and its short period of life is now a really rough coaster as well. I was fortunate enough to get a front seat ride and a back seat, but my God, like, it's definitely not aging well. Super, super rough. And Nitro was excellent. Still, I honestly, now having only been on Behemoth yesterday, I'd have to say it's a better ride than Behemoth. Fantastic B&M without question. But yes, I'm back on the visuals, at least temporarily, as this camera tries to keep up with the heat. So unfortunately, it just feels like a park that's slowly dying off, and I'm not so sure they really care too much about it. Yeah, we have a big coaster that's still yet to be announced that's coming in, but Six Flags Over Texas have their track pieces already on site, and we still don't know anything about what's going on with Great Adventure. So I don't know. I just don't have any faith that they're really going to be putting that much money into it. And Flash was a decent enough coaster, but nothing that was going to replace the legacy of King Dakar, that's for sure. Not that that was the plan, but it's a decent coaster. But again, like, do we need another coaster themed after a superhero? I think that this whole superhero thing is like beyond us now, and we want to move past that. And that park is just littered with these dated superhero section areas that, they don't reflect the times anymore. I think the current generation of youth don't really think about superheroes in the same light that, say, the previous generation or even my generation thought about them. But yeah, we need to get back to some more generic sort of like, and not in a bad sense, but like offerings that reflect a better, that have more legacy over their time, kind of like what Wonderland has and what the Cedar Fair parks have. But when it comes to Great Adventure, it's a park that's just on life support. It doesn't it's not a park that people from around the world will want to go to anymore. Yes, great adventure, superhero theming. It's ridiculous. It's got to end. I don't think anybody really cares about it. And JB is late to the party. Yeah, well, this was announced a little late, but it's always going to be on Wednesdays. This is the plan. Wednesday evenings. We're 5 in, and we'll see how far this goes. And yeah, Great Adventure's done. So, I went to Dorney just before then. I got on all the major coasters. In fact, I did them all, including the Wild Mouse that I wasn't able to get on a previous or 2 previous visits. So finally got that credit. And Talon, I still think, is an elite coaster without question. Hopefully this camera keeps up with me. Because, yeah, it was fantastic. Enjoyed it so much. Hydra, it's not that great. Watched this guy lose his cell phone on it, which was kind of funny, and I had to actually tell him because he didn't even realize it. But Steel Force is fantastic. If it's running trimless like I had last year, experience last year, then that is definitely another elite coaster, Magnum level as far as its airtime is concerned. Yeah, well, I wish I knew what the crown thing. I don't know if it's me that's done that. It's certainly something unusual. Well, everyone's king here. How about that? Everyone is getting a crown today, except for me, unfortunately. But Dorney is a gem. Other than the fact that Iron Menace is one of the most underwhelming dive coasters out there for sure. Yeah, it's not great. All right, yeah, some people are getting crowns and some are not. I think the crowns are for comments, like that you frequently comment, so therefore you get a crown. I think if I was to guess, because JB, B-Man, you're definitely, in fact, I think that is technically the case. But yeah, it's Dorney is a great park and I love it. And I was like, should I even be going to Dorney on this trip? But I definitely didn't regret it. Had a great time for the time that I was there. Don't know how long Possess is going to be there, so I had to get that in. I didn't get to, and I got to call it Wildcat because now I can't. Thunderhawk. I finally got to ride that for its 100th anniversary a year late, but yeah, it was decent. I don't know what the situation is with people, especially in the States, waiting in queues and then just deciding to move over to seats that people are putting their bag into the storage areas or the bins and then trying to get back in the seat. And then suddenly there's people sitting in your seat, which happened on that, which I was just like, you got to go. I don't care what, it was ridiculous. The fact that people just think that they can just take your seat after waiting a half an hour, to be honest with you, then they decided, okay, we'll just not go on the ride. But they waited 40 minutes to go on the ride, but that's fine. It's simple math, 2 per row. It's kind of crazy that people can't figure that out. I'll just say that much. But yeah, had a great time at Dorney. No vlog coming from that, unfortunately. Didn't have enough time. But there is one coming from Great Adventure with all my situations that happened there. That was when I started to realize, okay, I definitely need to vlog. So I got to comment on what's going on at this park. And then Busch Gardens Williamsburg the next day. Now, I was planning on going to Rapterra, but I also am planning to visit Pantherian when it opens. So because of the weather on that day and with the way that it was at Busch Gardens, with some rides closed for a period because of the weather and then reopening. Once the camera goes down, by the way, I will fire it back up again. And remember to put a fan on for next week. So next Wednesday, there will be a fan on the camera. So yeah, didn't get to do Pantherian or King's Dominion, but definitely have a plan to get down there this season for sure. Probably later into the season. Busch Gardens Williamsburg, still one of my favorite parks, if not one of my favorite park in North America. I just loved it to death. It's so good. Definitely got on Big Bad Wolf. I'm writing my review on it right now, so look forward to that. Had got a ton of POVs on it. Rode it 9 times. Had to re-ride it a bunch of times because the rain was just pelting us in the face. My ride on Griffin, the first one, was just actually punishing with the rain. You couldn't see anything, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't see nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, I know, this is crazy." Let alone the camera's not going to be able to see anything. So, but we got it done because the rain kind of lifted and then came back. It was kind of as you know, if you go out to parks for a long distance, you can't predict the weather. And unfortunately, the weather wasn't perfect that day. But it made for a very interesting vlog. I'm sure of it. And it's going to be one of probably the best ones that I've done. Because, yeah, it was a wild day. And got 5 rides on Pantheon. Had a weird situation where I literally got to re-ride the front seat without anybody waiting in line, which I don't know what ride ever on any slow day you're ever going to get that, especially an elite ride like that. I love that coaster to death. It's amazing. But Loch Ness and its changes as well were fantastic. I love the retheming of that ride. It was really got me really excited for the future. Some aerodynamics coasters that might be saved to that level, but yeah, another person or another pretty popular YouTube channel that I'm associated with had said that the SeaWorld parks were a disaster right now, and I could not disagree more. I thought that it's been brilliantly run, enthusiastic staff, complete opposite of what I experienced the day before at Great Adventure. So yeah, so look forward to that. It's definitely coming soon. A very exciting day and a lot of reviews coming up of all those rides that I managed to get in, including Flash and Loch Ness, obviously, too. Okay, because the camera's having some trouble and we're getting close to low on power as well, I'm going to see in the chat that we have anything that I should address. Kings of Kings Island. We're still talking about the crowns. What do you want to Final Destination yourself? I've never seen a Final Destination movie. And with the new one out, I've actually thought about maybe I should, get onto that. It's interesting that Tony Todd did that movie the way that he was clearly ill when he did the new one. And yeah, so rest in peace. But good on you for extending that legacy too. What are the two park maps on the wall in the background? I love the curate. Yeah, I love these maps. I have a bunch of them. I actually have one, Disney map that's worth a fair amount of money for my first ever visit there, which I'll probably try to put up. And if I change the setup a little bit, probably go on that side because it's massive and it is literally a piece of art. So I said it a little earlier, but that is Great Adventure. And that is Six Flags Great America. Almost out of power here, so I'm going to wrap this up very soon. Yeah, the Tampa Busch Gardens just retired Scorpion, which was not great. But trying to get the last of these questions here. Haven't been to that one, the Tampa Bay Park. Fabio got hammered in the face with that bird at one time. That was on Apollo's Chariot, which I did ride on my recent visit. So legacy of that ride. We were all getting in a little bit of a rant about Final Destination, so I promise you guys by the time that I get onto the next live, maybe I'll have watched a film or two, maybe even tonight. I got a little bit of time off because unfortunately front logged on all these videos. So yeah, covered almost everything that I need to cover. However, so Alpen Fury, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, fantastic. Look for those vlogs coming up very soon. Covered Six Flags Parks President's issues. Yeah, I've had themes on that in the past, so I'm trying to keep things on a positive spin this year, and not really, being out in the field and talking to enthusiasts. I have found that there's, I thought about doing a video about this, but there is a little bit of know-it-allism when it comes down to it. I've been to over 600. I've ridden over 600 rides now, so. When you try to talk to an enthusiast like I was yesterday about some experiences that you have in say Europe or parks in the States that they haven't been to, the immediate pushback is that, well, I haven't been to that park, so I don't have anything to say about it. And I'm like, okay, cool, but I have, and maybe I can entice you to, check it out. I also had a great conversation with another fan of the channel that he was like, well, your review of Magic Mountain, I was skeptical of it at first, and then I realized that you were exactly right about the fact that the park is in trouble as well, and you're not going to have a great experience there possibly because of the lack of ride availability and stuff. So, I try to make everything as genuine as I can and speak to it as genuine as I can, and that was definitely the case when it comes to that particular experience. So. I'm always going to be truthful. I'm always going to be genuine about what I experience, and that includes Wonderland as well. And hopefully, we have a pretty interesting time here where we're seeing, California's Great America being announced that probably in 2027 that'll be its last year. So we're going to be busy. But I thought about it with the losing of a Six Flags park and a Cedar Fair Legacy park in the next couple of years. That's going to equate to even shorter or an even more limited offering of amusements and thrills and theme parks within North America, where it's still thriving in Europe. We're definitely seeing the back end of potentially bad investments and poor business models and poor planning coming to the fold now at a time when, even, having gone through what happened 5 years ago, that, we're seeing these parks disappear just wholesale and just being rebuilt or being repurposed as communities and housing and stuff like that. So it scares me what's happening about that. It's certainly not a great sign, and it's going to keep me busy in the season ahead, that's for sure. So yeah, it'll definitely be an exciting year. I'll say that much because of that. I think the crowns are XP, like in Earthbound, we can level up, and yeah. So I definitely think that the crowns have to do with the your comment level, because the as far as I understand, well, I definitely know that JB and B Man, you're definitely up there in the amount of comments tallied, and I think that's why you're getting those crowns. Although the first person in the chat, I believe, also got a crown too. So yeah, okay. So we're doing good with the camera again. Yeah, it's not overheating yet. So if there is any more questions, I'll definitely field them. I have kind of like a little bit of time off from going out into the field. I'm trying to take June a little bit slower and doing some local stuff. Looking forward to Santa's Village opening up soon. Hopefully, well, it's open already, but looking forward to covering that. And one of the followers in the channel had some very enthusiastic things to say about my nature specific stuff. So I apologize if you don't like that content, but it's still going to be coming because, some adventure tourism is definitely on the cards this season. It'll be cheaper, I'll say that much, because it's not cheap going to the parks, even when you have a season's pass for everything, including SeaWorld and all that. But just getting there and back. And I don't own a car, to be honest. I rent my cars, and during the peak summer seasons, it's not so affordable as it is in, say, the fall. So that's why I generally am busier in the fall. But I'm still trying to get to Minnesota. That's like kind of like a very it's a goal of mine for this coming season, is to get to Iowa, Minnesota, get to Mount Olympus, because there's a significant amount of parks there that I haven't been to. Still haven't been to Indiana Beach. And one other thing is the Voyage is calling. Oh my, it's Siren's Curse was announced. It announced its opening finally. So I'm definitely going to be planning to go down there to Cedar Point very soon to check it out, and Kings Island, because it would be nice if I was able to pull those off twice this year. I generally like going in the fall just because it's very convenient. The ride wait times are very low, but I have fast lane for those parks now this year. So it doesn't really matter if I go in the summer or not. It won't make a difference to my experience. So stay tuned for that, because end of the month, definitely going to be going out there. But the Voyage, it's been calling. It's been calling my name. I'd really want to get back to that experience, because it's almost like the most emotional coaster experience I could have. There's something about that ride. I was talking about it with my friend there at Great Adventure and the shenanigans of that day. But that is a ride that has a deep place in my heart. It's a fantastic coaster. It's potentially, if without releasing my list, it is definitely my favorite coaster in the world. There's just nothing that really just touches what the Voyage does. It's just so fantastic. I loved it, and I need to get back on it, and quick, because it's been calling my name, as I said. It's and having Hollywood Horror Nights. That's not what it is. Hollywood Nights, just having happened. My feed is just full of people having experienced that ride recently, and it's just so good, and I can't wait to get back onto it. So in response to Robin's question here, have you considered hitting the village at Black Creek? Now, if you're talking about Black Creek Pioneer Village, the last time I was there was for a wedding that I actually did video work for, or videography for. So it's been some time, But I actually have the Ontario reciprocal. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. Other than that, it's like the reciprocal uh, endorsement plan or something like that. But essentially, it allows you to get into all these attractions in Ontario for next to nothing, if not free. Um, Really kind of annoyed that I didn't look into it prior to my Sudbury visit, because turns out that the not so cheap Science North and Dynamic Earth attractions I could have done for free, but there's a long list of stuff that I'm going to be checking out because of that. So it's going to allow for the opportunity to make some more unique videos around that, some stuff in Niagara and stuff. I meant to talk about the new attraction in Niagara, as a matter of fact, as there is a new flying theater opening up in late August. And I've been following some of the coverage of that. So when it opens, I'm definitely going to go down and review it for sure. It looks like it might be pretty unique. Like, they're definitely touting it as being something that's going to be, on par. It's not going to be Soarin', but I'm not really a big fan of that ride anyway. But it should be pretty unique. I can't see it being too immersive, like in the size of what Soarin' is, because of the building that it's being built in Table Rock. Because the old Journey Behind the Falls attraction, or Niagara's Fury, that theater, while it was pretty impressive in its circular shape and how it was like fit into that building, it wasn't massive. So, and we still don't, I think, have a confirmation on who's building the tech for that ride. Maybe I haven't read up on it enough, but yeah, it should be interesting nonetheless. There's some interesting stuff being built in Niagara, and I'm probably going to be there next week because I had to change my mind about my original plans there. Table Rock. Yes, that's definitely where it's located. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see because, yeah, Niagara vlogs get a lot of traction, a lot of fans, somewhat of an expert on Niagara attractions now. So, looking forward to welcoming a new one very soon. And it seems like they've put a lot of thought and effort into filming this, and it reminds me of the thing I was talking about previously, where we had a sort of journey over the falls attraction, the simulator attraction that used to exist underneath the Rainbow Bridge. So this seems like it's a homage to that, because you're going to soar off the falls and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that for sure. Lagoon in Utah is definitely one of the cameras doing its thing again, so I'm going to try to wrap it up soon here. But Lagoon is definitely a huge bucket list park for me, and hopefully I'm able to get to it at some point. I've been kind of thinking about how to try to do that, but I don't think it's going to be this year, but definitely maybe next year. That is the plan. Just reading the last of these comments. Like in S-Bound, we have a level up and redeem. Okay, still talk about the crowns. Yeah, so the crown thing is pretty funny. Yeah, they demolished the pyramid. I wish they had figured out a different use for that, but like IMAX experiences are now just like not a thing anymore. So yeah, Niagara is definitely going through a transition. We haven't talked about Marineland, but I don't have any news on it anyway. Although the talk yesterday at the park is that it's definitely sold. Even what's his name, the chief progenitor of seeing the park's demise, said that the park is officially sold and then all the animals are being moved. But we shall see about that. Anyhow, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm just glad I got the camera working again. I'm sorry and apologize for all the issues. I'm definitely going to try to fix that for next week. So that way we don't have these things go on again. The Skyline Tower actually had originally the carousel from Erie Beach Amusement Park, which is a major video that's coming up here as I'm doing the documentary on it. And I also revisited it twice in the past couple of months, and I haven't posted any of that footage on purpose because there's something else going on there, something mysterious that I hope you're going to enjoy when it finally goes up. But the antique carousel from there actually used to be in the Skyline Tower, and that was one of its last homes before all the pieces were actually sold off individually into private collections. So just an interesting factoid about that I found on my research recently. So yeah, Skyline's an interesting building for sure, for many reasons. Okay, everyone. Hopefully you enjoy the warm weather. It's back finally. And yeah, it's out of my camera not enjoying it, but it's been a great live. It's good to see you all again. Appreciate you all for sure. It's a small amusement park in the basement where the arcade is still located. I have a newspaper article about the carousel. So JB knows about that. So that's why we appreciate you in the chat every time. And I will make sure to post the notification about this one early enough so you don't miss it. But like I said, Wednesday evenings, we'll be here to do a live and chat about all these attractions and that much more, because there's always more to talk about here on the More Bumps Ahead live cast. And yeah, the live cast will always be live. And then I'm going to go back and re-edit all the black spaces out. So that way you guys don't have to sit through just hearing my voice, let alone seeing me. So, all right, just joking around. But anyway, thank you all for joining me this week, and be safe. Appreciate you. And maybe we'll see you at the parks in the not too distant future.